Ram Ram. Welcome to Sanskrit and Stories. If you're watching this video, perhaps you love stories. Or perhaps you love Sanskrit. Or, like me, you're someone who believes that stories have the power to change lives. This page, Sanskrit and Stories, is an attempt to bring together these two beautiful worlds, the timeless wisdom of Sanskrit literature and the captivating power of storytelling. Every day, we will explore little incidents, little conversations, little moments from our epics, Puranas, and traditional literature. Sometimes they may inspire us, sometimes they may challenge us, sometimes they may simply make us smile. And when I thought about where to begin, honestly, there seemed to be only one answer. What better place to start than the Ramayana? The Ramayana is not merely a story, but a mirror of life itself. It contains love, friendship, sacrifice, loyalty, courage, grief, hope, duty, leadership, and countless other human emotions that remain relevant even today. But before we begin the Ramayana itself, I want to ask you all a question. A simple question. Is questioning wrong? Think about it for a moment. Is questioning wrong? Many of us, especially those who belong to the Gen Z or the millennial generation, have probably experienced this. As children, whenever we ask too many questions, our parents would say, "Don't ask unnecessary questions. Just do as you're told. Keep quiet. Why do you question everything?" And perhaps they meant well. Perhaps they wanted discipline. But somewhere along the way, many of us began to feel that questioning itself was wrong. That curiosity was a problem. That doubts were signs of disrespect. But is that really what a tradition teaches us? Let us think. When we open our scriptures, what do we find? Do we find blind acceptance or do we find questions? Again and again. The more I read our scriptures, the more I realize that some of the greatest spiritual treasures of India were born from questions. For instance, take the Bhagavatam. Why do we have the Bhagavatam today? Because a king asked a question. King Parikshit was cursed to die within 7 days. At that moment, he did not ask about politics. He did not ask about wealth. He did not ask about power. He asked perhaps the most important question a human being can ask. What should a person do when death is approaching? What should one hear? Whom should one remember? Who should one worship? Because Parikshit questioned, Shuka Brahmarishi answered. Because Shuka Brahmarishi answered, the divine stories of Bhagavan flowed. And because that dialogue happened, we have the Bhagavatam today. Imagine if Parikshit had remained silent. Imagine if he had thought, I shouldn't ask. Would we have received the Bhagavatam? Similarly, think of the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata that we know today was narrated in response to the questions of King Janamejaya. His desire to understand the past gave birth to one of the greatest narratives in human history. Again, a question became a doorway to wisdom. Then comes my favorite, the Bhagavad Gita, perhaps the most famous spiritual text in the world. How did it begin? Did Krishna suddenly decide to give a lecture? No, it began because Arjuna questioned. He was confused. He was afraid. He was conflicted. He openly admitted his weakness. He openly expressed his doubts. And then he asked. He questioned. And because Arjuna questioned, Bhagavan answered. The Bhagavad Gita is not the product of blind faith. It is the product of sincere inquiry. It is a conversation, a dialogue, a question answered with wisdom. And then we come to the Ramayana. Even the Ramayana begins with a question. In fact, one beautiful question. The sage Valmiki approaches Narada and he asks, is there a person in this world who possesses every noble quality? A remarkable question. Not who is powerful, not who is wealthy, not who is famous, but who is truly virtuous, who embodies all noble qualities. Valmiki asks, Konvasmin sampratam loke gunavan kascha viryavan. Who in this world today is endowed with virtues and strength? That question becomes the seed of the Ramayana. Narada responds with a single name, Rama. And from that moment begins one of the greatest stories ever told. Think about this carefully. No question, no Ramayana. No inquiry, no narrative. No curiosity, no wisdom. The Ramayana itself was born from a question. How beautiful is that? And yet the story becomes even more fascinating because before Valmiki became the poet of Ramayana, something extraordinary happened. One day, Valmiki was walking along the banks of river Tamasa. The morning was peaceful, nature was serene, birds were singing, everything seemed harmonious. At that moment, Valmiki saw a pair of crowned birds. They were together, happy, unaware of any danger. Suddenly, a hunter released an arrow. One of the birds was struck and fell dead. The surviving bird cried out in grief. Valmiki witnessed the scene. The sorrow of that moment pierced his heart. The grief was so intense that words burst out of him spontaneously. He exclaimed, Manishada pratishtham tvamagama shashvati samaha yat krauncha mitunadekam avadhihi kama mohitam. O hunter, may you never attain lasting fame because you killed one bird from a loving pair. And then suddenly something remarkable happened. Valmiki realized that the words had emerged in a special rhythm, a meter, a poetic structure. Brahma later explains that this utterance was not accidental. The sorrow, shoka, had transformed into poetry, shloka. As the traditional expression beautifully says, shokaha shlokatvam agataha. Grief became poetry. Think about that. This is not merely a literary event. It is a profound lesson for life to me. What is art? What is poetry? What is great literature? Very often, it is human experience transformed, pain transformed, suffering transformed, loss transformed. Valmiki did not suppress his emotions. He did not ignore it. He did not run away from it. Instead, he transformed it into something beautiful. And perhaps this is one of the deepest lessons of the Ramayana for me. Life will give us grief. Life will give us disappointment. Life will give us heartbreak. But the question is, what do we do with it? Do we become bitter or do we transform it into wisdom? Valmiki transformed sorrow into poetry. And because he did, the world received the Ramayana. Isn't that extraordinary? Today, when we look around, we often feel that questioning is rebellion. But our scriptures show us something different. There are two kinds of questioning. One that arises from arrogance. The other arises from sincerity. Arrogance asks questions to prove others wrong, while sincerity asks questions to discover truth. The first creates conflict. The second creates wisdom. Every great dialogue in our tradition comes from sincere questioning. Parikshit questioned, Janamejaya questioned, Arjuna questioned, Valmiki questioned, and humanity benefited because of it. So perhaps the lesson for us today is not that we should stop questioning. Rather, we should learn how to question. Question with humility. Question with curiosity. Question with a genuine desire to learn. Because every answer begins with a question. And every great story begins with curiosity. As we begin this journey through the Ramayana on Sanskrit and stories, I invite all of you to do exactly that. Question, reflect, think, agree, disagree, wonder and explore. Because these stories are not museum pieces, they are living conversations. And together we are going to enter that conversation. In the upcoming videos, we will walk with Rama through forests. We will meet sages, kings, warriors, devotees and ordinary people. We will witness moments of triumph and moments of heartbreak. We will discover lessons that are thousands of years old and yet surprisingly relevant to modern life. So let us begin this journey together, one story at a time, one question at a time. And perhaps, like Valmiki, we may discover that the greatest wisdom often begins with a simple question. Namaste.